Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be letting Instagram choose my TBR. I know this is not exactly a revolutionary idea. I know other people have done videos like this before, but I have not only never let Instagram pick my TBR for a video, I've just never gotten book recommendations from Instagram before, at least to my knowledge, which is a damn shame because I follow so many people on Bookstagram who have these beautiful curated posts that follow a certain trope, or it's just a really beautiful picture of a book that I'm like tempted to read just because the picture is really pretty, and yet I never actually follow through and read the books that I see. So I'm gonna remedy that in today's video. I'm gonna hop on Instagram. I'm going to just let it guide my reading. I will let future me run you through the details and the rules, but I'm hoping to just hop on Instagram and the first 5 books that I see that I haven't read that are romance, I'm gonna be reading them. And we're gonna have some fun this week. All right, before we get screen recording, I have 3 rules. Number 1, only romances are what I'm gonna be selecting from the books that I see on Instagram. I only wanna read romance most of the time. I'm not gonna like pick up a 3rd book in a series, you know, fantasy or something like that. Not happening. Rule number 2 is if it's a book that I have read already, I'm not going to reread it. And rule number 3, if there is a book that I really don't wanna read, I have 1 skip and 1 skip only. So I need to use that skip very wisely as we work our way through Instagram. All right, let's go ahead and get screen recording. Fingers crossed I find some really juicy good stuff to read that I wouldn't have picked up otherwise. There's gonna be a lot of stuff to scroll through that just is not books. All right, first up we have Find You Again by Ava Hunter, which is a rockstar romance, forced proximity, second chance. Book 2, it sounds really good just from the brief like synopsis and or this graphic. I'm gonna add this one to the list. This is gonna be, I'm not using a skip. Ooh, closed door romance graphic. This is really cute. I don't know why it like shows you the second one first. Let's keep going. How about the spice meter? I love that there's options on this graphic. Should we do the therapy one? Probably, because I think I've read almost all of these other ones. A little spice. Yeah, let's go full therapy. I have read There Are No Saints. I haven't had much luck with Rena Kent, so I'm looking at The Ritual and Brutal Obsession. Let's go with Brutal Obsession. That'll be book number 2. I could pick more from this graphic, but like, I feel like we need some variety here, okay? So book number 2, Brutal Obsession by S. Mastery. Thank you, Grace. This one, interesting. Medicine Man by Saffron A. Kent. This is a book that I have considered reading in the past and just haven't picked up. I've read one other Saffron A. Kent book before. I think it's called Unrequited or something like that. It's a student teacher thing giving major Lana Del Rey vibes. I liked it. So I think Medicine Man is going to be book number 3 for us. Alone with You in the Ether, no. When someone says they don't like surprise pregnancy, you know, I wasn't going to go off of a reel, but I think, I mean, it is a book that I'm seeing and it is romance. I don't know. I can't tell what these are because it's mirrored. I'm going to have to do some like research on this book. Yeah. Whatever this Fiona Cole book is, this surprise pregnancy one, I guess is the one that I'm going to read. That's book number 4. Whew, surprise pregnancy. Wasn't expecting that. Oh, okay. And then the last one is going to be Fractured Sky by Catherine Cowles. Small town romance, emotional, age gap, brooding hero. I Hate Everyone But You. Recluse, suspense romance. I'm liking these selections. I'm very much liking these selections. Also, I really love graphics like this, so shout out to Ava for this graphic. A bunch of romances that I probably wouldn't have picked up on my own, so I am looking forward to seeing how this experiment goes. I don't know what I'm going to pick up first. I'm excited to go along on this journey with all of you. Let's get into it. Therapy is right. I decided to pick up Brutal Obsession first. I don't know what compelled me to pick up the 600-page book first, but I was just feeling like I needed something different, and this book is certainly that. It is quite different. So this book, wow, where to even fucking begin? Don't pick it up if you have triggers, perhaps, or maybe look up the triggers. I am at a loss for words, kind of, about the themes in this book. I don't have any particular triggers. I kind of go off of like a case-by-case basis when I pick up a book as to what I'm comfortable or not comfortable with in a given moment, or just like, I don't know, how things are presented. And in this book, it is unhinged as fuck, but I am somehow not hating the way that it's being presented to me. So, okay. This book's about our 2 main characters, Violet and Grayson. At the beginning of the book, Grayson is driving a sports car way too fast with another person in the passenger seat. It's a woman. He is expecting her to perform, you know, a sex act on him at some point. The way that he speaks and the way that he delivers his, I don't want to say lines, but just the narration it's giving sociopath, frankly. It is scary to listen to this man speak. He rounds a corner and I guess doesn't see oncoming vehicle and ends up crashing into this vehicle. But since he doesn't want to ruin his own life, he decides to move his passenger into the driver's seat and flee the scene, even though he knows that the other vehicle and the passenger is in distress and injured. he just leaves. He gets his comeuppance when the police show up at his door, like, I don't know, 20 minutes later, because they're like, yo, yeah, he definitely did this. And through a series of events, he ends up in a situation where he is kicked out of school. I think his dad's a senator and like is facing some consequences based on Grayson's actions. Now he's at a new school and playing hockey. So like, did he really get punished very hard? No, he did not. Who should be in attendance at that university but the woman that he crashed into, who is now unable to dance because she has a leg injury. Like any sane individual, Grayson is just so sad about what happened and so remorseful that he decides he's going to become friends with Violet. Just fucking kidding, of course he's not. I guess he's mad for some reason at Violet for the things that have transpired. He's, I guess, mostly upset because I think his dad like faced some career consequences. We're not sure what those are yet because of the car accident, and so he's angry and he's gonna take it out on Violet, and he already has multiple times in this first 20%, and it is brutal. He does have a brutal obsession with her. The title is very apt for this book. He is a fucking nut job. He says multiple times that he just can't stay away from her. He says, I'm not attracted to her and I don't have feelings for her, but I want to destroy her, and it's a lot to fucking handle. Is it compelling? Certainly. Is it a book that I'm going to continue reading? Yes. Is it a book that I'll probably finish? Also, yes. And I don't know what that says about me. The writing of this book, I think, is pretty good. I think I would like to see a little bit more from both characters in terms of like their motivations and what they want out of life. I mean, I guess I understand Violet not really knowing what she wants, given that like her life dream of being like a professional ballerina and dancer has just been taken from her. I want a little bit more there besides just the relationship between Grayson and Violet. I just feel like I'm sensitive to that because I recently just DNF'd a book for that particular reason, for, you know, it not having characters with like real life issues and motivations. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's real life issues here, but the motivations are just really not adding up to me. And maybe they don't have to. Maybe he is just psychotic. And I mean, this could not have been, I think, more solidly pitched. So Grace, your graphic really worked. Maybe I do need therapy. All right, so I finished Brutal Obsession last night, and it was really fucking something. In terms of like Instagram recommendations and what this book was like advertised as, I think Grace did a really good job at representing the kind of person that should read this book or like might enjoy this book. And you know, I already go to therapy, but I do think that if you sincerely like this book and it is romantic, you might need therapy. I don't know, not to psychologize here, but this book, I don't even know where to begin. And it's like, I don't want to necessarily spoil it because I enjoyed it enough to where I think if you are a certain kind of reader who doesn't really have triggers, like maybe you might enjoy this. It certainly kept me entertained, and I don't want to say it was a palate cleanser, but I think this could be a slump breaker despite the length of it, just because of how different it is. I feel like I have not read a dark romance in a while, and I don't think I've ever really read a dark sports romance. So basically, this story just kind of continues with our hero, Grayson, shall we say, pursuing our heroine ruthlessly. Like, he is very into her, and he pursues her despite his ideas that, like, maybe she's not right for him, or that, like, I don't know, she's, like, trying to ruin his life. I don't know. That's basically how the book carries on, and there is, like, a switch, I would say, at, like, the 75% mark, where the hero, it turns from, like, obsession and trying to, like, ruin her life to actually, like, wanting her just for himself. Now, I'm not saying it's, like, a truly romantic story and he's like making amends and is like apologizing for the things that he's done to her. It's more like our heroine also has some perhaps psychotic tendencies, shows him that, and he's like, wow, okay, we really should be together forever. She's like, you know what, I think you're right. So like, I guess they come to that agreement, and he does definitely do less unhinged stuff as the book goes on. He like protects the heroine, which I kind of liked, that the romance grew in that way, and also that like wasn't a dramatic he changed overnight sort of thing. It was like slowly over time he sort of like got there. The reason this book is never going to like get 5 stars is because it is so unhinged, right? Like, I don't think I could in good conscience say that this book is like so romantic and like something that everybody would love. I don't think it has like the nuance of something like a Pam Godwin dark romance where she really like dives into the morality and like makes you think. Like, this definitely, like, the characters are just fucked up, right? And like there isn't a ton of depth there. There's enough depth to keep me interested, but no, beyond that, the reason I couldn't give this book like higher than, I would say, like, I don't know what I'm gonna rate this book. I don't know if I will rate this book. There are too many fucking conflicts in this book. There are, I believe, 4 conflicts. We've got the conflict between our hero and heroine. We have our heroine and her ex-boyfriend. We have our heroine and a stalker who she has not identified. And then we also have our heroine in conflict with the hero's father. Actually, no, there's a 5th one, and it's also the conflict between the heroine and her mom. Like, there's just too much going on for this to be a cohesive storyline. And I think part of the problem is that it is 500 pages. I think had this been narrowed down to maybe 2 or 3 conflicts, it would have been fine. And here's the thing, like, books need subplots, we do need like layers, but I feel like these were all pretty much 3rd act conflicts, and it got a little too confusing and or really really that many people obsessed with this woman? Like, I just don't really get it. I don't know, y'all. This was like a really tough one for me because I frankly had a really good fucking time with this book. I think it's because I knew what to expect going in because of how this was advertised. So, Grace, congrats on a good selection. Maybe, I don't even know if I'd call it a good selection, but you advertised this book well. I think, you know, if people are looking for a certain kind of book, they can find it in your post. So, awesome graphic. So I've been cleaning up my house, about to throw my sheets in the wash because, you know, breakfast in bed can get messy. I did, unfortunately, spill tea all over myself today. So 50% in to Fractured Sky. Tell me why I was trying to think of the character names for these characters, and my first thought was like Romulus and Salami. It's Shiloh and Ramsey, okay? This book starts out and we find out that Shiloh is kidnapped by a guy who has some mental issues, I think is what we find out. Like, kidnapped her and he tortured her for a little bit. I don't know how long she was kidnapped, but one of his children ended up getting help for Shiloh, which is really awesome. And you know, flash forward to the future, and her family is just like, they're not shitty people, but they definitely don't treat her like the adult that she is, and she feels very stifled, right? She doesn't like to be touched, but also she just feels very like overwhelmed by the amount of pressure that's on her to like be a certain way. She's not having it, right? And she has been escaping basically the family ranch or farm or whatever to go and hang out next door at this guy's like horse rehab ranch. Eventually she decides she's gonna like go live with him. I mean, she like talks to him about it, and like they strike up kind of a tentative friendship, and she's gonna go work for him and live at his like horse rehab ranch. Things get complicated though when we find out that someone is still after Shiloh, even though the man that kidnapped her initially is recently deceased. He was in prison and now he's deceased. Someone is sending her like threatening messages and she is scared. Also, she's like been assaulted recently, like she got punched in public and then I guess like not kidnapped, but like we're trying to find out what's happening to her and who could be after her, which apparently is a running theme in a lot of Catherine Cowell's books, which I'm coming to find. I actually read her most recent novel, what is it, Whispers of You. I tried to read that, I got 50% in and DNF'd it because I just was not vibing with the lack of characterization and character motivations. I think that's something that I'm finding in her books, not as much in this one, but just in general, that she doesn't tend to write around her characters very much. This book, at least I'm getting more setting, right? Like at least I'm kind of understanding, you know, the people around our characters and kind of what they're going through, but I just feel like I personally like my characters to have more than just one dimension to them. Like I want them to not just have one struggle in their life, but I want to know about their desires and what they're doing, like what's their career, what are their hopes and dreams, etc. I want this to feel like a real person rather than just someone who's in a distressing situation. That's why these books are a little bit challenging for me. This one, however, I will say does feel a little bit better than Whispers of You. Like I DNF'd that one because I just didn't care. This one, I think because it's not a second chance romance, we are at least getting like on page character development and relationship development between Salami and Romulus. I literally can never remember their names, Shiloh and Ramsey, which is nice. I don't know. It's definitely a romantic suspense kind of novel. So if that's something you're looking for, and or you like small town romances that have like a little bit more to them, I guess plot wise, like maybe this would be something that you'd really be into. I honestly would like prefer a quieter romance. I'm not saying that the plot of this book is bad, but I would prefer it to be quieter and have more in the way of like character development, relationship development, swooniness. I mean, I am excited for these two to get together. I'm not like, ew, this is gross, but I'm just not like 100% sold. Though I will say Ava's post and like advertising of this book, or like pitch, I guess, to other bookstagrammers or people like looking for books was definitely good. Like she said, this is like a recluse, small town romance. I mean, she was totally right. So I don't think this is like bad by any means, but I just don't know that like this author is totally for me. And like I said, I just DNF'd Whispers of You like a couple of days ago, so I'm getting like a crash course in her rating, so it is what it is. I am gonna finish this book because again, it's like good enough for me to finish and been an enjoyable listening experience while I clean my house. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up and I will let you know what my official rating is. I am gonna rate these books. That last one though, I have no words. This is shaping up to be one of the most interesting vlogs I have ever filmed. Also, can you see Pepper's little head right here? Okay. I am a complex individual with complex thoughts and feelings. How do I even describe how I felt about Fractured Sky without sounding insane for enjoying the last book more, okay? The reason this book was a miss for me personally is because of how trauma is handled, right? Here's the deal. I don't need every book to be sunshine and roses or anything like that. I'm not even saying that I don't want trauma in my books, because that's not necessarily true. However, I find it sort of hard to sympathize with a book when we have a character who comes in traumatized, right? Our heroine was kidnapped at the beginning of the book and she thinks she is safe because, you know, the guy is in prison and the guy is deceased, right? She is being followed and stalked and we're wondering if she's going to be, you know, kidnapped again or if something bad is going to happen to her. And that alone should have like been a red flag for me. But as the the book continues, things grow more and more unhinged. And apparently that's par for the course for this author. Like, that is just kind of how she does things. She really likes a damsel in distress sort of situation, and she likes, I guess, kidnapping plot lines and romantic suspense plot lines. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but I don't see how it really benefits our character's growth to re-traumatize her. To me, it just seems needlessly cruel to put your character through that, and also it's completely unbelievable, like, that this sort of situation would happen. I mean, I say that, like, I'm sure things like this have happened in real life, but it's just not something I want to read about in a romantic context, and maybe that's just me, and maybe I just am not cut out for romantic suspense novels. Again, it's like, how can I say that and yet also enjoyed Brutal Obsession? I think the thing there was that heroine was very much in control of her own destiny in that story in some ways. Like, maybe not at the beginning of the story, but as the story carried on, she was in control, and she had a say in her destiny, right? There was sort of a damsel in distress situation in that one too, but I don't know, that one was supposed to be maybe a little silly. This one, I think, it did have so much going for it because we do have, in my opinion, a fairly well-developed romance. I liked seeing Ramsey and Shiloh get together. I liked their vulnerabilities with each other. Like, that was all working, but I just feel like the ending really made this book not one that I personally enjoy. I think I really just don't like romantic suspense very much, so that's definitely a me thing. And as I was reading this book, I was definitely thinking to myself, totally see how people like this. It's a small town romance. It's got those vibes where you can tell, I mean, this is like the final book in a series that, you know, you're growing to love the characters and, you know, the family members as the series goes on and stuff. Like, I totally understand why people like this book, but it's just not for me. I really am very particular about how women are treated in books, and it doesn't always make sense, right? Like, some of y'all are going to read Brutal Obsession, or I mean, even from my description of it, are probably like, dude, what the fuck? How can you like that and not like this book? But I'm fucking weird. I don't know what to say. It just is what it is. That being said, I give it 3 stars. Like, this is not a terrible book by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. I just, like, couldn't rate it higher because my actual enjoyment of this book was very 3-star. Like, there was so much good, but there's also so much I didn't like, and so I'm just gonna leave it at 3-star. And if I'm thinking about my rating of the first book, I think, like, on an objective level, on like a, would I recommend this to people and do I think this is like a quality book? No, like, it's a 2-star. But when it comes to like my enjoyment of it and how much of a page turner it was a 4-star, you know what I mean? Like, my actual enjoyment of the story was like a 4-star. If I'm looking at it objectively, its merits, like, maybe 2. So I don't know. Reading books is weird, deciding how you feel about books is weird, and I'm not gonna apologize for it, right? Like, we're all weird people and we all have contradictions in our lives, right? And maybe that's just what I'm dealing with today. So in terms of like Instagram and the recommendation, I think that Ava, again, like, she advertised this so well. I think that by looking at kind of like how this book was pitched, I feel like it definitely delivered on those things, and I'm not mad at it. Like, I didn't know that I didn't necessarily like romantic suspense until I read this one, and, you know, maybe there's like more nuance there. Maybe I do like some romantic suspense and not others, but, you know, I found something new out about myself today, and I'm like actually not mad about it. All right, besties. Actually, I'm gonna DNF a book, okay? First of all, I'm tired, so that could definitely be influencing my need to DNF this book, but I think really for me, I'm not feeling drawn to these characters, and dual POV third person is a choice for a romance novel, and it's not a choice that I necessarily love because it does not allow you to get as close to the characters as you need to be. Let me see if I can like find a little tidbit from this book that would like kind of get you to understand or like feel what I'm feeling when I'm reading this book. Okay, let me pull her open. I got 26% in before I decided to not finish this. After a careful glance at Alabama, who sits with sagged shoulders, Griff exits the room to fill a glass of water in the small bathroom. Alabama, he thinks, it's the closest to heaven he's gonna get, his lips on hers. That's not to say she ain't playing the devil with that hot as hell body of hers. When he returns to the bedroom, he swears. It feels almost like I'm reading the script for a TV show or a movie. And at first I was like kind of fine with that. I was like, okay, it's reminding me of the show Nashville. Like, I'm intrigued, I'm interested. But the farther I was getting, the more I was like, we're not getting any deeper here. And I think it's because of the way the book's told. So this book's about Griff and Alabama. Alabama got in trouble, I guess, probably in the last book, because it's the second book in the series. She got in trouble for kissing a guy who's married, and she was doing it to like blackmail the married guy for her business manager or something. She ends up getting caught and getting fucked over, and so now she's like back in her hometown and is no longer like a star on the rise. She has like the #1 hit single in Nashville right now, but like everybody hates her. So she's back in her small town of like, is it Clover, Texas or something like that? I don't know. And Griff used to be her high school sweetheart until they got got in a car accident together in high school, and she was left alone. Like, he is there for her recovery and then immediately leaves or something like that. Kind of reminded me of Whispers of You, which I read recently. Anyway, they have to team up because Griff's tour is kind of going poorly because he has been getting into like brawls and drinking too much, and so they think that Alabama will be a mess to distract from his mess, so she's going to be the opener for his tour, and it's going to be a dive bar tour, and yeah, they're on a tour bus together. It's sort of like a forced proximity situation, and I will say, to Tori's credit, like, I think that she advertised this book as exactly what it is. Let me pull up the graphic. Yeah, it says forced proximity, second chance, rock star romance, and I mean, that's exactly what this is. Like, it's definitely not advertised incorrectly, but I feel like I needed like maybe a little bit more in terms of context to like pick this book up and feel confident about it. I really just think it's the POV issue. I think had this been told differently, dual POV, first person, I would have enjoyed it. And I also think some of the language usage could have been cooled down a little bit. Both of these characters are from a small town in Texas outside of Austin. I'm from Texas. I am from a big city. I guess you could say I'm from Houston. And I do know people with southern accents, but they don't speak in the way that the characters in this book speak. I also have family from East Texas with really thick country accents, and they don't speak like this. So I'm a little bit like, it's taking me out of the story too, like having to kind of puzzle through some of the like the language and dialect choices, given that like I'm from Texas. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm kind of whatever about this book. I wanted to like it, but it seems like very surface level, so I'm just gonna go ahead and DNF it. I feel fine about that. I think maybe pick this up if you want something easy breezy. It's a short book. It's like under 300 pages. And I think if you were just looking for a quick, easy rockstar romance, this could do it for you. But I think there's a lot of other like really good rockstar romances out there. Kristen Callahan's VIP series is really fun. There's another series. I think it's one of the books called like Lick or something. I'm trying to remember. Is it Kylie Scott? I don't know who the author of that series is that I'm thinking of, but there are plenty of rockstar romances out there that I think do it better than this. So I'm confident in DNFing. I don't know what book I'm going to pick up next though. We have 2 left, which is good because that's about the amount of time that I have left to read books, about enough like brain space and brain capacity for 2 more books. Okay, so this should be interesting. We've got Medicine Man and Another by Fiona Cole. I think I'm gonna do Another next. It is a surprise pregnancy one. Sam reads a little, like her recommendation, her reel. Fingers crossed that one goes well because I want to win. I want like a 5-star read in this because I think to this point, even if I haven't found a 5-star read, Instagram has been a fairly successful tool. I didn't have to use any of my skips for any of these. So, you know, I think there's like a potential there for a 5-star read. Maybe Medicine Man by Saffron Cat. I don't know. Hello from your favorite corpse and your favorite cat. It is Saturday morning and I am like 30-ish% into Another by Fiona Cole. That is the name of the book that Sam recommended to us in that reel about surprise pregnancy books. So it's a book, you know, it certainly is a book. Is it a book that I'm loving? No, but I'm also not hating it, you know, for a trope that I don't usually enjoy. It could be a lot worse, I guess. Though I am like seeing a lot of similarities between this book and a lot of other surprise pregnancy novels that I've read, in that the characters are really fucking annoying. But let me tell you a little bit about this book before I bitch about the characters. This book's about Fiona and Ian. Not Fiona. Wow. The author's name is Fiona. This book is about Ian and Karina. And after a really rough breakup, Karina is given a gift certificate to a boudoir date thing. You go to a boudoir photography session and a man shows up who's also there for the session, and you guys take like intimate pictures together. It's like a first date or something like that, and it's like a surprise date kind of thing, right? So there is like undeniable chemistry immediately between Ian and Karina. They are very attracted to each other even though they're both really bossy and like don't listen to the other. They have this instant attraction, and after the shoot's over they have some like quick passionate sex, and then they never see each other again. 6 weeks later, guess who's pregnant? Our girl Karina, which is challenging because she doesn't know who this gentleman is. She didn't get his number. She doesn't know his last name. And whenever she tried to contact the photographer after the shoot, the photographer's nowhere to be found. She like skipped town. So anyway, Karina can't figure out who her baby daddy is, which is challenging for her, obviously, because she didn't really, expect this and or necessarily even know if she wanted kids. 6 months later, she comes back into contact with Ian and they strike up a sort of like friendship. I think she's 8 months pregnant at this point. She's just trying to kind of figure out her life and also have this like new guy in it, I guess. This guy that she kind of likes, but also is kind of annoyed by, and he's also a bit of a playboy. And I liked the opening scene of this book, I will say. I really enjoyed the like steamy sort of like hookup at the beginning, and I'm not a hookup girly, so you'll know that was like kind of a big deal for me. I thought, okay, this is going somewhere. But pretty quickly I was like a little bit on edge because the characters are a little bit irritating. Both Ian and Karina are just too strong-willed to be enjoyable characters, and I'm not saying you can't have two strong-willed people in a relationship. The way that these two fight and bicker is just like not fun to read about. They're giving very immature vibes, and that pops up again when they start, I wouldn't say hooking up, whenever like Ian comes back into Karina's life, like after he finds out that he is the father of this child, and like after he figures out, oh, like I'm gonna have to step up or whatever. He does nice things for her, like he's been getting her burgers that she's been craving and stuff like that, but they can't seem to agree on very many things, and they definitely like bicker too much for like the nature of their relationship. I don't know, it's like, shouldn't you be open-minded and like try to get to know this guy that you slept with and like have an attraction to, and it also is going to be the father of your child? Maybe it's asking too much, but it is kind of like not the most fun to read about because of the characters. It is reading really quickly, and I'm not mad at it, and I'm trying to keep an open mind because I think like maybe if these two, you know, open up to each other and like share their vulnerabilities and stuff, like maybe I will start to understand their characters better and like root for them and their relationship. I mean, I like the concept, honestly, of not a secret baby, because I think, well, okay, there's secret baby and accidental pregnancy. I don't mind accidental pregnancies. Secret babies are tougher for me. In this case, it's like she couldn't have really prevented what happened, I guess. Like she didn't have this man's contact information. She wasn't trying to like keep him from his child, so like that's fine with me. I don't like when it's a secret baby and you're like hiding it from the baby's father. I think that's like fucked up. This is like accidental pregnancy more so, and I like the concept of them because I think it's a really compelling way to bring two people together because it's a little bit more high stakes. But that being said, I just don't think I've read very many accidental pregnancies that I've been like totally about, because I feel like oftentimes the characters are so fucking stubborn. I read an Elizabeth O'Rourke book with a similar premise, same with a Megan Quinn book, and in both cases, like the baby didn't, I mean, okay, the baby's bringing these two together, but they have to like bicker and be annoying, and I'm like, I get it to an extent, but it seems a little tired. Like I want a different relationship dynamic. I will say this book has me intrigued in this series by this author though, because we find out that the man that Karina was going to marry, and I think she was dumped by, is marrying a man, and I'm assuming that like one of the previous books in the series is about him maybe discovering his sexuality, or just like, I don't know, going after what he actually wants and marrying a man, or like getting with a guy. I don't know, I'm very curious. Also at the beginning of the book we find out Karina was like, she was engaged to someone and also fucking two different men is what the beginning of the book says. So I'm like, was she engaged to her ex and like, I don't know, having some fun on the side? Was it like a threesome situation and like she was kicked out of it? I want to know the tea, and I feel like I haven't gotten it. It's entertaining. I probably would not have picked this up on my own. I've read one other Fiona Cole book, I think it was Voyeur, and I didn't love it, but I am glad that I'm giving her a second chance for this video. And also just like, you know, I definitely wouldn't have picked up an accidental or secret pregnancy book on my own volition. I mean, I don't say definitely, but I usually don't pick up this sort of book on my own, so I'm not mad that I'm picking it up for this video, and I'm again curious to see where things go. All right, friends, I finished Another by Fiona Cole. I mean, it was simply fine. I think for an accidental pregnancy, surprise pregnancy story, this one was decent. Like I'd give it 2.5, 3 stars. I think my issue with this one is that the characters were unfortunately just pretty fucking annoying, and they never really got less annoying, and I don't know why that's the case in like every accidental pregnancy book I've ever picked up, but it seems like, you know, you have this conflict that's fabricated or whatever, you know, based on the pregnancy, like, oh, no, we don't know each other very well, and now we're forced to work together because we have a kid together, and like, that can definitely create fun tension, but I think it would be more fun if the characters like fighting feelings for each other rather than being genuinely annoyed with each other. I feel like the characters in this book were genuinely annoyed with each other, and I feel like they never really got past their like archetypes. The heroine was supposed to be like the strong boss bitch type, and we never really got any vulnerability from her, I don't feel like. I mean, I guess we kind of did at the very end of the book, but not throughout the story, and I never really got to know her or what she wanted. And then Ian, he's like this playboy, and that keeps coming up time and time again. Obviously that's the conflict of the book, is our heroine thinking that like he's not a reliable guy, and oh, he just wants to get with other girls and not actually be there for me and my daughter. And it just like wasn't that great of a conflict, which is kind of a bummer because I did like moments of the book. Like I feel like the sexual tension was certainly there, and the smutty scenes were definitely hot, so if that's what you're looking for, you'll definitely find it in this book, but I just like want something a little bit deeper. But that's just me, you know? That's just who I am. And who he is really comfy, I guess. But I am ready to finish this vlog off and read this last book. Alright, so I just finished my dinner and the intro to this video. Haha. I am really bad at filming intros. before the video actually starts, but I have gotten about 25-ish% into a little book that I like to call Medicine Man. Also, that's just like the name of the fucking book, right? 25% into Medicine Man by Saffron A. Kent, and I just like needed to update you and like let you know how I'm feeling. This is good. This is actually like a solid book that I am enjoying. I don't want to say I'm surprised because I've enjoyed a Saffron A. Kent book in the past, but it was also unhinged, and I read it like in 2018. Like, it has been very, very long since I have picked up more works by this author, and this one's impressing me. So this book's about our main character, Willow, and she is in some sort of like inpatient psychiatric treatment because she had an attempt, if you know what I'm saying. She claims that this was a one-off mistake, that she was inebriated, and that she doesn't actually have the desire to like unalive herself. And as a result of her like not actually wanting to do the thing that she's being like accused of almost of doing, she is not cooperating, shall we say, with the powers that be. She's in not like an inpatient hospital thing. Is it outpatient? Maybe it's outpatient. I don't know. She's like at a psychiatric like home for a little while, for like 30 days. And she's supposed to be working through her issues, and yet she's just like really not, she's not participating, shall we say. Things change when she has someone new come into her life. The doctor that normally prescribes her medicine, the psychiatrist, gets sick, and the new guy, Simon, is young and he's handsome, and he might be getting through to Willow. I'm enjoying this book for a few different reasons. I think the biggest one is that this one, compared to pretty much all of the other books that I've read for this video, feels very stand out in terms of characterization and, I don't want to say pacing, but pacing, yeah. Willow's character is one that I am instantly intrigued by. I don't know a ton about her past, I don't know a ton about her interests, but at the beginning of the book we learn more about her family and how she's kind of the odd one out. We learn about how she doesn't like live up to expectations necessarily, and how that could like weigh on her. We get to really be present in her mind and really understand everything that's going on, and this is like a huge contrast to that like country star book or whatever that I DNF'd. That one, you know, it was kind of a weird third person situation, so I wasn't able to actually feel for the characters, and in this one I instantly care about Willow, and I care about kind of what she's going through, and like the fact that she is in this situation she doesn't want to be in. I like that the pace of the romance is moving incredibly slowly. It is a 500-page book that I was lucky enough to find an audiobook copy of on Hoopla, so I'm listening to the audiobook. I will say, like, the female narrator kind of sounds like a 45-year-old woman, which nothing against 45-year-old women, but the woman in this book's 18, so don't recommend the audiobook, but it's been nice to listen to because I don't have to like use my eyes. The pacing is good in this book. I am appreciating that the romance is moving slowly. I don't really know much about Simon, but I want to know more about Simon. There's just more there than in a lot of the other books that I have read, and that's not like a knock to other books. Sometimes I don't need things to be in depth and I just like want a fun time, but this is, I think, scratching an itch. And I went in hesitant because I was like, I don't know if I like the idea of this, like patient falling for her doctor. Since she's pretty much established, like, she might be depressed, but she's not ideating, like, I'm feeling more sympathetic towards this like potential age gap relationship. So I don't know, we'll see where things lead. I am tentatively, like, again, excited and interested in this book, and I think the writing is like worlds above some of the other stuff I've read. That being said, if you are triggered at all by the mention of Harry Potter, don't pick up this book. It is mentioned so fucking much. Our main character is like obsessed with it, and she's constantly bringing it up, and the majority of the clothes that she has brought to this inpatient, outpatient, whatever facility are like Harry Potter themed, so it's brought up frequently. So if that's gonna bother you, don't pick this up. It's bothering me personally. I'm gonna keep reading. I don't know if I'll update you at 50% or when I'm done, but living, laughing, loving. It's only 6:30. I only have 3 hours of this book left. You know what? Shout out to me for being on top of my shit. And also just having a fun time with Instagram. Instagram has been a good recommender of books. If you hear any suspicious noises, I can assure you it's my cat and not me. 50% into Medicine Man, and I thought I would update you since it's such a long book. So many thoughts and feelings. This book is actually making me low-key kind of emotional. This book is really heavy on the mental health representation, and I think that that's pretty clear. A lot of what I said previously doesn't necessarily stand in terms of our heroine and her ideations and stuff, so like, that's triggering. Definitely don't pick this book up. There's just a lot of talk about mental health. Like, that's what this book is all about. It's all about our heroine and her depression and her trying to find sustained happiness when that's not something that she's ever really felt. And if you're someone who suffers from depression, like, while I do think this could be triggering, I also think it could be kind of maybe cathartic or relatable, and for me it is the latter. Like, it really is feeling cathartic and relatable, and I'm really like impressed with that. I wasn't really expecting that from, I don't want to say I wasn't expecting that from a romance, as if I don't expect romances to be high quality and amazing and like do all the things, but I just think like lately I haven't really been picking up romances that like do it all, and this one is really impressing me. I don't know that I love the romantic relationship. Like, I don't think it's very well developed. Granted, I'm only 50% in, and it's not like it's really going anywhere, but our heroine has definitely made moves on the hero and like tried to kiss him. I mean, he definitely reciprocated it too, but I don't know enough about him. And our heroine actually points that out. She's like, I just don't know much about him, but I want to know more about him and I want him to help me. Like, I want to be happy. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I should have profound things to say, but I think sometimes it is profound enough to just say this book is making me think, and it is, in my opinion, well written. Again, besides the Harry Potter shit, like I really could have done without that. But other than that, you know, it's pretty good. All right, my friends, we've reached the end of the road. I am shrinking, I guess. My tripod always likes to sink down. She's a little unstable, just like the characters in this book. Okay. I don't know. I think I'm gonna give this book 4 stars, and it's not because I think the romance was fantastic. It's because I liked the mental health representation. There are very few books that have mental health representation in them that I feel seen by. I feel like there are tons of books out there that touch on mental health, but they're just not, you know, books that I connect with, and this book I did connect with. So to me, that makes this book kind of stand out. Do I think the romance is amazing? Not so much. Like, the smut is definitely there. It feels very taboo. Saffron A. Kent definitely like goes there, and she has gone there in both of the books that I've read by her, but I don't know that I like love the dynamic there, right? Like, I think we can all probably acknowledge that like a doctor-patient relationship is not appropriate, especially when the patient is like fresh out of high school. And you know, sometimes I am willing to like overlook things, make exceptions, whatever, but in this book it felt kind of icky to me, so like I didn't love the romance in this one. So it feels weird to rate this one highly, even though I didn't love the romance component of it, but like I do think this one was pitched well. I went back and like read the caption of the post that this one was like pitched to me, and it said this one had really good mental health representation, it's taboo, and I mean, like, it definitely delivered on all of that. I agree with pretty much everything that was said in the caption. There weren't any like words on the graphics or anything. It was just a picture of this book, so I don't feel like misled or anything. But you know, this has been a fun experiment overall. I really enjoyed getting to look at Instagram and actually take book recommendations from Instagram for once, because like I said, I just like never do that, and I feel like even though I had varying levels of success, I feel like I know what to look for now when it comes to book recommendations. I definitely need someone to really outline in their caption what a book is about and like what they like about it, or I need a really good graphic to kind of let me in on what the tropes are or like what the extra things are. I feel like the posts that I saw that were a little bit more, I don't want to say like attention grabby, but I think the posts that tended to be more like, here's a pretty picture of a book, or this one has this particular trope. Like, if it's just like a split second thing, like I don't think that works for me as well. I like in-depth stuff, which, you know what, that makes sense, right? Like I'm a YouTube ass bitch. Like I want people to talk in depth about books so I can really decide whether or not I want to take a chance on it. But I had fun. I definitely think that Bookstagram is legit as fuck. I think you can find great recommendations there. Definitely, again, makes me want to read more books from Bookstagram recommendations. So thanks so much for watching this video. I had a really fun time filming it. In the comments down below, let me know if you have read any of these books, and let me know who your favorite Bookstagrammers are. I would love to know. Thanks so much for watching this video. I love y'all so much, and until next time.